It was supposed to be the adventure of a lifetime, a once-in-a-lifetime trek through the frozen wastelands of Antarctica. Led by the world-renowned expedition guide Jonathan Gray. His group of 6 eager tourists had gathered at the edge of a little-known outpost near the Antarctic Circle, each person wide-eyed and ready for an adventure they would never forget. They didn't realize that for some, their last adventure had already begun. The group was a mix of thrill seekers, adrenaline junkies, and history enthusiasts, all keen on venturing into the unknown, exploring the remote regions of the icy continent. The weather was harsh, the winds unforgiving, but the beauty of the pristine white landscape left them breathless, even as it also unnerved them. The sun, low on the horizon, cast long, eerie shadows over the icy expanse, and every now and then the ground beneath their feet seemed to tremble ever so slightly. "We're heading into the Shadow Peak Range today," Jonathan said, standing at the front of the group, his voice commanding but steady. "There's something extraordinary there, an untouched part of the continent, but be warned, some people don't come back from this area." The tourist chuckled nervously, brushing off his warning as another part of the guide's spiel. After all, the dangers of Antarctica were well known. The cold, the storms, the wildlife, polar bears, seals, and the occasional orca. But nothing could prepare them for the true horror that lurked in the desolate mountains. As they trekked deeper into the shadow peaks, the atmosphere grew colder, the air grew heavy, a strange stillness descending over the snow-covered mountains. Not a single bird or animal made a sound. It was as if the land itself had fallen silent. By midday, the group stopped to take a break near a jagged cliffside that seemed to stretch impossibly high into the sky. Jonathan looked around, his eyes narrowing as though sensing something unusual. "All right, we'll rest here for a bit," he said, "but stay close. We don't want to split up." They set up their equipment, trying to keep their spirits up despite the growing unease. As they sat, the silence pressed in on them. The temperature was dropping further, and none of the tourists could shake the sense that something was watching them. It wasn't until one of the tourists, Amelia, spoke up that the tension broke. "Does anyone else feel like we're being followed?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The others turned to her, exchanging uneasy glances. "Probably just the wind," Jonathan said quickly, but his tone lacked conviction. Suddenly, the ground beneath them rumbled. Just once, a deep, guttural tremor that shook the snow. Then, all was quiet again. But in that brief moment, Amelia thought she saw something in the distance. A towering figure, so tall it seemed to scrape the very sky itself, standing motionless against the snowy backdrop. She blinked, and the figure was gone. "Did anyone else see that?" she asked, her voice shaky. Jonathan stepped closer to her, trying to calm her down. "It's nothing. You're just seeing things in the code. It's easy to get disoriented out here." But Amelia wasn't so sure. The chill creeping up her spine had nothing to do with the temperature. Something was out there. Something ancient. Night fell quickly in the Arctic twilight, and the group huddled together around a fire, their faces pale in the orange glow. They were tense, watching the snow around them as if expecting something to leap from the shadows. Then, a piercing howl cut through the silence. A sound that didn't belong in the natural world. It wasn't the cry of a predator or the wind. It was something else. "Stay close," Jonathan ordered, his voice sharp. "We're not alone. We need to leave now." But as they gathered their things to move, the wind shifted, and in the distance, they saw it again. The silhouette, tall, too tall, looming at the edge of their camp, barely visible against the mountains, but unmistakable. It was there, and it was moving toward them. "Run!" Jonathan yelled, but it was too late. The thing was upon them in an instant. It towered over them, its body a shimmering, ice-coated behemoth, so tall it seemed to stretch beyond the horizon. Its features were impossible to make out, frozen and formless, its translucent skin blending with the snow and the sky, allowing it to vanish and reappear in the blink of an eye. Its eyes, though, glowed with an unnatural light, an unholy, cold light. The creature's breath, when it exhaled, froze the very air around them, leaving a trail of frost in its wake. The tourists tried to run, but it was useless. The creature's long arms swept through the air like icy tendrils, snatching them one by one. It moved with terrifying grace, silent and quick. One by one, the group was frozen, encased in solid ice, their screams trapped within. The last thing Amelia saw before the cold took her was the creature's form, translucent and ever-changing, as if it was blending into the snow itself, vanishing completely in the blink of an eye. Weeks later, a search and rescue team arrived, looking for signs of the missing tourists. But all they found were empty campsites, footprints leading off into the snow that disappeared without a trace. There was no sign of Jonathan, Amelia, or the others. As they moved deeper into the snowpark range, one of them noticed something strange, something that had been waiting there for centuries. Towering in the distance, near the base of a cliff, were statues of ice, trophies of the monster that had been collecting them for as long as the mountain had stood. The frozen figures of the lost adventurers stood tall and lifelike, encased in ice, their faces contorted in eternal terror, their bodies stiff and unmoving. Their bodies shimmered with a translucent quality, blending with the snow, almost impossible to spot against the mountain range. They had found the creature's trophy room, a chilling reminder for any who dared to venture too close to the snow peaks. the Frost King was still watching, and he was always looking to add to his collection.